Hi, I'm Tammy Beilstein. Welcome to Tammy's Window on Calaveras. I have with me tonight a woman named Linda Clark, and she portrays a character, Hard Luck Lynn, which, of course, I want to talk to you about that. But before the show started, we had about 2 minutes where she was telling me a little bit about herself, and it's super interesting. So I wanted to tell you, thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me, yes.
Now, I have to start with who you are as a person. You have had an interesting life.
I am a farmer's daughter and very proud to be a farmer's daughter. I'm from Minnesota, grew up on the farm with all the things that you do on a farm except milking the cows. But the
You didn't milk cows?
No, because you have a milker to do that.
Oh,
I mean, we were modern, even if we were in Minnesota. Then came out to California and taught school. And taught out here for a while. And then 5 years in high school. Got custody of my youngest brother, needed more money. So I quit teaching and started working at Ford Motor Company because that was the best way to get the most money the quickest way possible.
And how old were you then?
I was in my early 20s.
Oh, wow.
In my early 20s, yeah. You know, life takes you on many different paths, and along the way you learn a lot of things.
Yeah.
So it's all been good.
Wow.
And then Ford Motor Company, that shut down the plant in Fremont because of the recession that we had in the late 70s. And I needed to find a job, and I didn't want to work at McDonald's.
No.
And the managers of the apartment complex where I work, he had worked for Scotland Yard, and he was a marvelous man.
That is so cool.
It is cool. And if you didn't know what Sherlock Holmes looked like, this would have been him.
Oh,
totally.
my gosh.
Complete with the little curly pipe.
That is so neat.
It is. And so they kept saying,
what a great connection.
I know. It was wonderful. They were wonderful people, wonderful, supportive people, just like the best grandparents in the world.
So he saw something in you.
I guess so.
Yeah.
And so Sheriff's Department was hiring, so I got a job with the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Department.
What did you do there?
I worked, in the jails first, and then all aspects of law enforcement. I taught at the Police Academy, Criminal Justice Training Center.
You did?
At Evergreen College, yes, did that for a while. And ended up, when my son was born, I started working in court services and developed a training program in court services for the department.
My gosh.
It was pretty exciting. Court services was a wonderful place to work because I had weekends off, holidays off, and I could be a mom.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that was great.
So where did hubby come in?
He was my sergeant when I worked in the jail. I always told my trainees, don't ever marry a cop and don't ever marry somebody or date anybody from your own department. And here I am, I married somebody, my sergeant.
That happens.
It happens, I know.
Don't take your own advice. But it's a good thing.
It's a good thing. We're going on 31 years.
Awesome.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes, it's great.
Oh, so he was your sergeant, and is your son following in your law enforcement footsteps?
Our son, we tried to convince him to be a fireman, but he is with the Highway Patrol now and is working out of the Barstow office.
Oh my gosh, Highway Patrol would be such a tough job.
Yeah, you get to drive a fast car.
Oh, that's a bonus. There's the bonus.
That's a bonus.
Oh my gosh.
But he loves it. He loves it.
Does he?
And his wife teaches at
Don't
Fort
tell
Irwin.
me this is Sergeant. This is wife. No. Okay.
No, but she teaches at Fort Irwin, so it's
another
wonderful.
teacher.
Another teacher.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, that is so neat.
It is.
What a beautiful family. But you've had some really tough times, and when you were so young.
But tough times can either defeat you or they can equip you to grow and become a person.
Yeah.
So I've worn a lot of hats, but it has made me grow as a person and made me who I am today.
Right.
So we need to embrace the journey that life has taken us.
That's true.
And learn from it and use all those lessons to help other people.
Yeah, that's the plan. That's the way it should be. You're doing it. Is that where Hard Luck Lynn came in?
Yeah, kind of, because as I tell the kids when I'm beginning a program, that hard luck is a funny name for a fella, but it just means that I keep trying.
Yeah.
No matter what, whether it's a beautiful sunny day or whether it's raining, wet gold, which we really like today, or whether my gold pan is full of leverite, which we don't want. That's anything that's not gold, so you call it leverite because you leave it right there. Or whether it's full of pay dirt. I just keep trying.
Yeah.
So it's hard luck, but it isn't no luck. And it isn't bad luck.
Right. Yeah.
So that's good.
Hard luck you can handle. You
Hard
can
luck
do that.
you can handle. Anybody can handle hard luck.
Is Hard Luck Lynn an actual person, or it's just a character that you came up with?
It's a composite of many historic characters and my own imagination. It is not a
Okay.
real person.
Okay.
So just with all the research that I've done on the gold rush,
Yeah.
and specifically of the area, this person just kind of took form.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a miner because I could wear pants and I could chase after kids a lot better than wearing all those skirts. Okay?
Right.
So
Good
it just
thinking.
it
Yeah.
just kind of all fell into place.
So you were did Hard Luck Lynn come about then when you were teaching high school?
No, no.
When did you
Hard luck
come up
came
with her?
about. We retired from the sheriff's office and moved up here permanently to our home in Twain Harte. We had a home in Twain Harte since '85, but we moved up permanently, and I got involved with teaching California Gold Rush, and then was working at a camp.
Okay.
And where the kids would come to the camp, and we would take them on walking tours and do all kinds of programs and take them panning for gold. Well, I didn't want to be wearing a skirt.
No.
So this is how this character just evolved.
Yeah.
Just evolved. It's like all of a sudden,
Yeah.
okay, this is who it's going to be.
Because you wanted to wear pants.
I wanted to
That's-
wear pants and
how
not
it came
chase
to
after
be.
those kids in
Right.
skirts.
So who is this Hard Luck Lynn? I don't know about her. I want you to tell me.
Well, the story of Hard Luck is her family originally came from the territory of Wisconsin. Now, one day that would be called Minnesota if they ever
Okay.
get enough people there. They were homesteaders in this new land. And there was Pa and Ma, and she had twin older brothers, Matthias and Johannes, and then myself, and then a younger sister and a younger brother. The
Okay.
two little ones were about 8 and almost 4.
Okay.
Times were really, really hard. And this is based on some of the history of that time that we have.
Like the early 1800s?
Early to mid 1800s. Times were
Okay.
hard, probably in the 30s and 40s.
Okay.
And you depended upon the weather so
Yeah.
much. And the weather turned against him. And finally, Pa just said, that's it. We're going to go to this wonderful land called California. It's a land of milk and honey. And without knowing anything about the gold rush, he packs up the bags and the family decides to move in 1848. And they're coming out for a new start, knowing nothing about the gold rush. They got as far as the Humboldt Sink, and that's where they hit cholera. Now,
Oh,
people then
yeah.
didn't know that cholera was in the water. It was a bacteria that was in the water. So when you got sick with cholera, you were so sick, it would just eat your insides out.
Oh, gosh.
And they would give them water to soothe the
Right.
suffering from the fever.
Right.
Had no idea that they were actually giving them the disease.
How sad.
And inside of 48 hours, she buries both her parents and her two older brothers because they
Oh,
got
gosh.
into bad water. They went to help another neighboring family that had cholera and drank from their water. And so the bottom line is Hard Luck is left now with the two little ones, and she has to find a way of getting the wagon and the two little ones safely into California. She can't go back. She can't stay. There's no back to go to, so she can
Right.
only go forward. And she just takes on this task. I have to do it. Time does not stop to allow you to even grieve or to even assimilate what has just happened. You have to go forward.
Something about that sounds a little familiar.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You
And-
caring for your brother.
Yeah, and you do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. When they get to California, it is early days of the gold rush, and California is not what her father had envisioned. It is not the land of milk and honey.
Right.
It's a land of gold and greed and lost dreams and men. So now she has to find a way of surviving. Again, she can't go back.
Right.
She has to have a way, and her dream is to give the two little ones their father's dream, and that would have been for a farm, not a ranch, because she only knew a farm. She didn't know
Okay.
anything about ranching.
Right.
But that's her dream, and she decides to disguise herself as a man and go to the gold fields and find gold.
Boy. And how old was she at this point?
She was 18.
Oh, wow.
And so that's what the whole story is about.
Okay.
But when I do programs for kids, I'm telling actual gold rush stories, not my story.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Was she successful, your Hard Luck Lynn?
where she lived.
In the gold in the gold panning or business.
You'd have to read the book to find out.
I do. You know,
Yes, she was.
I do want to show this because I can tell already. I'm just so like this as you're talking. I'm going to forget this book. Tell me about this.
The teachers that I worked with wanted me to write down the stories that I would tell to the children, and I can't write those stories down because they're already copyrighted. I've lifted them from other sources. You can't copyright history, but you can copyright the manner in which they're presented. So my character was already trademarked, and when I sat down to actually write the book, I mean a book, I didn't know what the book was going to be. This is what emerged.
Oh. As you're talking, I was reading little sentences and parts of sentences here. So this is written, Hard Luck Lynn wrote this book.
That's the book that, yes. Well, it's not in first person, it's in third person. But this is the story that she related about her beginning, how she came to be.
And this is how you look when you're...
And that's how I came to be.
Cute. And this is what you wear?
That's what I wear. And this is the hat. And the story was rumbling around up here inside this hat. And it just had to come out.
Oh, that's darling.
Yes.
That's cute. I'd wear that.
May I never lose the hat.
Yes, yes. So do you go around to schools now and talk with kids? You still doing that, or do you prefer going to parks and events and that sort of thing?
All encompassing. You know, and organizations, a lot of schools. I don't advertise. I let the schools come to me. I do a lot of campfire programs. I've done programs from as far north as Wairika, up into Coloma, Shaver Lake, in the Bay Area, all over Danville.
Wow.
And of course, Tuolumne County Schools. I've done programs for the Calaveras here, the Historic Society.
Very good.
Yeah.
Do you get paid for that, I hope?
I get some reimbursement, yes.
Okay.
I keep alive. I would never be able to live off in it. It's not gold, but but
I love when people do what you do. There's a friend of mine named Pat who portrays Mark Twain around the county.
Oh yes.
I don't know if you ever
Pat
worked
Connard.
in.
Yes.
Oh yeah, good. Such a nice guy, and I love that you guys do that sort of thing. It brings history alive and. People even my age, but I know when I was a kid, that's the stuff I would remember. Even when the teacher would wheel in the cart, you know, with the movie on it, just watching that, I'd remember that so much more than reading something straight out of a book.
Something about it being visual.
Yeah.
And when you have something that's just a little bit off center, like I think Hard Luck Lynn is when she comes in and does these things, the kids remember that.
Right. Yeah.
There is nothing more fun than to walk onto a campus and have the 5th graders or the 6th graders come running up saying, "Oh, hi, Hard Luck, do you remember me?"
Oh, how sweet.
That is really, that's touching.
Yeah, that is so sweet. Yeah. Do you ever change your story or add to it? You've been doing it for so long now.
Yes, the stories are basically the same, but I'm always finding new ones to incorporate in. A lot of the organizations like the Forest Service or the Park Service, they'll want the same set of stories, but I'm allowed to bring new ones in and weed out the old ones.
Okay.
So
and do you relate it to the group that you're talking to?
Yes.
Like if you're doing a Forest Service, are you able to talk about forest fires or?
No, it's just the gold rush.
Just that,
Just the gold rush. But I can talk about Charlie Parkers who drove up here in the mountains, or I can talk about, you know, early people finding gold.
Yeah.
A lot of that is just, you know, it's whatever I find. If I talk about the women of the gold rush, I can pull stories from Virginia City or Dry Diggins or Placerville or anywhere and just try to make it, let the community that I'm in be touched by a story.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
And there's so many stories out there, but you just have to dig for them.
What's one of your favorites?
I think, well, Charlie Parker's story is one of my most favorite stories. She was an incredible woman who, through circumstances, we really don't know why, but she disguised herself as a man from the time she was a child to get away from an orphanage and ended up driving stages, starting out in Massachusetts and then in Rhode Island because everybody thought that she was just a puny little boy. And a man, a state livery owner named Ebenezer Block, took her under his wing, giving her a home because he thought she was just a not a runaway, but just someone who was homeless, which
Yeah.
was not an unusual thing back
And he
then.
thought she was a boy.
He thought she was a boy, and so he taught her everything she knew. She ended up driving all these stages all over, really made a name for herself. She had friends that came out to the gold rush intending to find their El Dorado.
Yeah.
They found out that digging for gold was really hard work.
Right.
So they decided to start a stage line. They sent for Charlie. Charlie's more than 40 years old. Charlie thought, well, this is an adventure, and came out here and started driving stages. And
So brave.
so brave, wonderful adventures, just wonderful adventures. And then when time came for her to set aside the reins, she had gotten rheumatism and arthritis in her hands so bad. She had to get out of the cold weather because you can't talk to your animals if you can't move your hands.
Oh, sure.
And so she started driving stages between San Jose and Santa Cruz. Had a stage line. Found out about a woman who was losing her property. Her husband had died, and the bank was foreclosing on the mortgage. So Charlie, without any prompting, went down, pulled out her whole life savings, bought the deed to that farm, and gave it to that woman.
Oh,
and then had
my
to start all
gosh.
over again. I mean, incredible
Really?
stories like this. And when she
saint.
came to the end of her days, she died a few days after Christmas in 1879, down on the Harmon Place, down in what is today Watsonville.
Really?
And when they laid her out, they found out that she was a woman.
Boy.
But it was on a remarkable
No one knew
story.
until then.
Never knew until then. And it was a different time then. So you did whatever you had to do to survive.
Yeah.
And you get a disguise and it starts working so well for you. How do you put it aside
Right.
and let people know who you really are?
But that means that she never found love or a relationship or her own family.
Or her own family. She never knew her own family growing up in an orphanage. That kind of sets an awkward tone for some children. And there was a kindness, a heart of kindness in her throughout her whole life. There's a lot that we don't know about her.
Yeah.
But what we do know about her, she was a loner, probably because she had to be for safety.
Right.
But she had this big heart when it came to people that needed help.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a remarkable story. You can go down to the Pioneer Cemetery in Watsonville and you'll see her grave.
Really, I would love to do that.
Oh, it's just wonderful. Yeah,
That is
that's
really
probably
neat.
my favorite story.
Oh, that's neat. Does your hard luck Lynn ever get married and have her own family?
Oh, I would be telling you the end of the story.
Oh, but I'm dying to know. Darn.
Yeah, I can't tell you the end of the story.
Oh, gosh, then
That's
hold
like
on.
reading the
I'm gonna-
last chapter first. Did you ever do that? Read the last chapter first?
No, I did it.
Let's just say she ends up happy at the end.
Okay,
She ends up happy
very good.
in ways that she never could have dreamed.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
That is fun. So
And the
back-
title comes from that old saying that God doesn't shut a door, but when he opens a window.
Yeah.
Ever hear that?
Yes.
But no one ever tells you how small the window will be.
Right.
That's why it's called the small window. But she
small window.
finds the small window.
That's awesome. That is a good point. Yes. Yeah. But she finds the window
She finds the window.
and she wiggles through it without ripping her
Yes.
pants. And keeping that cute hat on.
And she kept her hat. Yes.
Oh, that is so neat. That is so
Yes.
neat. When does your husband participate in any of your?
Bless his heart, he is a very good driver. And when we do book signings, and if I've just done a show, I have a really hard time pulling myself out of 1850 into 2015.
Yeah.
I mean,
You get into it.
yeah, and it's hard for me to make that transition back. So
Right.
he usually handles the book signings for me when we go.
That's
to-
nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
That's nice.
I know.
So you're an interesting person. I mean, obviously you're so strong to have lived through the things that you've lived through, and you're smart. You're a teacher, and you find a way to make things work. And at the same time, you're entertaining because you're an actress and an author.
Well,
Tell me what you can't do. What can't you do?
I can't sing. I can't sing.
Okay. Oh my
No.
gosh.
I think if you just take the whole composite of your life and let your life just start to evolve and keep positive, it's just amazing where your
Right.
life's journey will take you.
Yeah. You are. You're so positive. Just even if you didn't say a word, just sitting next to you, you feel it.
Well, good, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
really neat.
It's exciting. Life is exciting.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law used to say that any day I wake up, it's going to be a good day.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's a good philosophy to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it
That
is.
is so neat. How long do you think you're going to be Hard Luck Lynn?
I
Is she ever
don't
going to retire?
know. I keep saying, oh, this will be the last year, and then somebody will call and the next spring I go like, okay, we can do it again.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know. As long as I'm able to do it, I'll keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's just my husband's mother was an amazing woman, and she was just busy and active until her very last, and
Yeah.
she died at 98, and that's an inspiration.
Oh, totally. That,
You know,
very
each
much
day,
keeps you young.
and each day is a gift. So we
Yeah.
need to use it in
Right.
the best way that we know how.
Oh, exactly.
So I keep on
Exactly.
doing it.
Now we still have some time, and I've been wondering. So, what if back then, in the 1850s, if a woman did not have the desire to dress as a man and live her life as a man, would she be allowed to be a stagecoach driver or to pan for gold or any of those
It would
things?
have been historically not driving stages. There are accounts in the old books, the old journals, about women who put on their men's pants and panned for gold. And you find some old historic photos, and there'll be a woman with a bunch of men, and whether she has brought them food or whether she's actually out there panning for gold, certainly you could do it. It would just be that much more cumbersome to do it.
Yeah.
There's nothing saying that you couldn't do it. But usually the women were the teachers, they were the laundresses. Or, I mean, if they had no one to support them, or they would go into prostitution.
Right.
Because what else was a woman going to do in order to survive?
Right. Huh. I wonder
So-
how the men felt about those strong women, if they were intimidated by them or if they just thought they were weird. You know?
I think the gold rush, the westward movement, changed a lot of attitudes that the men had towards women, that the women had towards men. Up until the westward movement, you know, a woman was on a pedestal, and she was supposed to be pampered and being taken care of. But when these women had to come across in these stages, even on board the ships, you know, you see them putting aside the Puritan dress because it was hot and your clothes were just worn out.
Right.
And realizing that maybe putting on breeches because you have to will allow you to do what you need to do with modesty and still be able to do the task. They didn't go out in public to a public event, like to a barn raising or to a church social.
In their
dressed
pants,
in just that way.
Right.
But just for the workaday world, just you did what you had to do.
Yeah.
You did what you had to do. But for a woman to be driving stages in a dress would have been very unlikely. That's kind of a Hollywood invention.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Not impossible, but that's a Hollywood invention.
Do you wish that you lived back then?
Yes, but I really, really like hot and cold running water and flush toilets.
Oh, totally. Microwaves. I know.
microwaves,
I know. We're
you
so lucky.
Aren't we lucky?
We could drive a stagecoach if we could do it in a skirt if we wanted to. We
If
could
you
make it
wanted
work.
to, if you wanted to. And of course they would have the split skirts. That came with the rancher women that
Did
would
they?
have the gauchos or the split skirts so they could ride with some modesty and
I
not
didn't
have to
realize
ride
that.
side saddle.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could do anything we want.
We can do anything
I
we
kind of
want.
like the, you know, like you were saying, so long ago when women were on a pedestal. But I also like being able to do what I want when I want. Kind of, we could just mix them perfectly.
We could just mix them perfectly. Well, see, and for a man, it wasn't just the women that changed, but men were always held as knights in shining white armor, and women looked up to them as with this idea of heroism.
Yes,
you know?
my
They could do
caretaker,
anything,
yeah.
And all of a sudden, men were confronted with things that they had never come up against, disease that they didn't know how to combat. So there was a real humanization going on, even in their relationships. By the time they got out here, and even with the men being out here. It was a real humanization.
What an interesting time.
It was a very interesting time. And when the men came out, they were all leaving a woman behind. And when I talk about the women of the gold rush, one of the things I try to point out is they came out thinking they were going to get the El Dorado and come back as a knight in shining white armor. And this woman, whether it's a mother or Oma or a wife or a woman who wanted to be a wife or sister, she made sure that two things were packed. One was his prayer book or his Bible. That was to hopefully keep him on the straight and narrow so that God would see fit to bring him back to her. And the other thing was his Sunday go to meeting suit. And that was for his burying. Because she was certain that he was not coming back.
Oh my gosh.
And she only hoped that somebody would be there to lay him out properly in her stead. Now, but she loved him enough to let him go.
Yeah.
And then most of these women that
Golly.
stayed behind had to find a way of keeping house and home together while the man was off chasing
Yeah.
his dream. It was a very difficult time.
Gosh, I don't know why I hadn't thought of it
Yeah,
like
it's
that
a very
exactly when you put it
challenging-
that way.
For everybody. For
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah. The children, the women, the men, everyone. The
Yes.
mothers and fathers, and
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
And it was a hard time. There were a lot of suicides, guys that couldn't, that just wandered off and they were never seen of again,
Yeah.
because they couldn't handle coming home and being thought a failure because
Oh.
they hadn't accomplished their dream.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And back then, the family just, unless there was someone who was a middle person, the link between the person who may have committed suicide and their family, the family would probably never know.
Probably
Just
never know.
wonder
They just
what happened.
disappeared. Yeah.
Oh,
Just wonder what
boy.
happened. When you think of letters trying to get across the United States, getting back to their families or back to another country, it would have taken so long for any kind of communication to have gotten back and forth. It was very easy for a person just to disappear.
Yeah.
And no one ever knew what happened to them.
Yeah.
And a lot of people came out to reinvent themselves.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Because it was a new chance, a new world.
Yeah.
So it was a very exciting time.
And I can see the benefit of a woman pretending to, reinventing herself, pretending to be a man, but I bet there weren't very many men who pretended to
No,
be women.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
They wouldn't get much
They
bonus
wouldn't
out of
get-
that. No.
Well, and you know, we had a very fluid society.
Yeah.
You didn't have an Emerald City with a gatekeeper like in The Wizard of Oz, somebody writing down everybody who comes and goes. And because it was such a fluid society, you could melt into the fabric of the
Yeah.
existing society and just move. And nobody would pay heed to you unless you drew attention to yourself.
Yeah.
So it was easy to do. We will never know how many women actually, put on
Did
the
that.
guise of a man.
Yeah.
They did during the Civil War. We know that
Right,
from the
right.
journals.
Oh, I'm so glad that you
Yeah.
do this. Before we go, we have just like 2 minutes left, but where can people find your book?
They can get it from me. They can get it from Amazon.
Okay.
They can go to the Tuolumne County Museum and get it in Sonora. And Charlie Marangio has Charlie's Books and Galleria in Jamestown, and he is my book distributor.
Okay.
So he always has it.
And when you say get it from you mean your website, thehardluck.com?
They can contact me through the website, and we'll work out a way of getting it.
Oh, that's so great. And it's right before Christmas.
Books make great gifts.
Yes, they do.
They don't need batteries. They don't wear out. And you can even learn something.
Oh my God, I have learned so much from you in just these 30 minutes. I'm going to have to read your book now and see what
Yes,
happens to her. I'm hoping she finds a really handsome man and has gorgeous children. So,
I can't tell.
we're about out of time, but thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I hope you come
Wonderful.
back, and I hope you come with your little outfit on sometime. I'm dying to see it.
All them clothes that nobody didn't want, they all come from folks that weren't needing them no more.
Oh, I've got to see you in your getup. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time on Tammy's Window on Calaveras.